It's a 53-man roster prediction. Goes down right here, right now, inside this No Horsing Around podcast. What is going on? No Horsing Around family. Zach Boyd back at it again. It's roster prediction time. And guys, I want to take a quick second to timestamp this as we put this out here on Monday, 11:33 a.m. as I'm recording. Things are obviously fluid. Things are subject to change. But this is just the best version, the best thing that I could come up with. I'm curious your thoughts after we get this. We love the reaction you guys have done every single year here. So we'll just start right here from the very beginning. We'll start with the quarterback position, and I think we keep three. I feel obviously Richardson, Minshew, Ellinger. That's the only three we've had. And I don't think Ellinger goes anywhere because of the new rule. You know, you can have this guy not active in the case of emergency. You can still have him play on game days, and that's a real advantage to football teams. It's a rule I actually really like. I'm not sure if they were to waive him and try to bring him back to the practice squad, he'd clear waivers. And for that reason, I have him on this initial 53. Now, it's very important for people to understand. I'll do my best to navigate as we go through this. Just because you make it on the first 53, that 24-hour period where waivers come through, that immediately could change in a matter of one day. So it's very, very, fluid as we go through this and we navigate through this, especially in the next 24 to 48 hours. Running back, this one was a little bit difficult, but I'm going to just start here. I'm going to go with Hull, Moss, and Deion Jackson. And you're probably thinking, well, why is Jonathan Taylor not here? It's not because of what you think, though. I don't think he gets traded by that mandate of tomorrow's deadline. What I would think is he's going to remain on PUP. And if he remains on PUP, he's not going to take up a roster spot. And for now, you start with three, but this is one of the four positions that I think that we're going to heavily be involved in when it comes to, either whether it be a free agent acquisition or picking somebody up off of somebody's roster through the waiver wire. I think this is a position to pay a lot of attention to. I know there's been some rumblings of Kareem Hunt, as well as some younger guys who are going to get waived, maybe on some really good football teams. They just didn't have, the spot open for them. And we go out there and we pounce on that. I expect us to be really active with the waiver wire cycle this year. Wide receivers, I went with five. The four are easy. Pittman, Pierce, McKenzie, Downs. Who was the fifth? And it all came down to me was special teams. Now, could have went Amari Rodgers, but I went with Winfrey. I think Winfrey's a bigger body. And if you're going to replace, a Pittman or an Alec Pierce, you'd probably want to replace it with a more physical outside, bigger body guy. If you went with Rodgers, you're down to more of a slot receiver. But also Winfrey has 5 years experience, and he can play special teams in that gunner position. So for me, those are the five that I got on there. Switch on over to tight end. I'm going to roll with four tight ends this year. Jelani Woods, I know he's dealing with that hamstring tear, so I don't know how that factors in and how they'll let that go. Maybe an early IR candidate. I don't know what's going to go on, but he's had plenty of time to let that heal. It happened early on in camp. But I went with Woods, Granson, Mallory, and Ogletree. You'll notice that Mo Alley Cox is not on this list. I predicted this for several weeks that he will be a camp casualty. It's a lot of money they're paying a guy, not as much production, and he just hasn't been available during this training camp. There's no ties with him and Shane Steichen. So for me, I think he's probably going to be one of the more higher profile guys who's been a Colt for a while that may have a chance at getting cut. And I don't have him on this 53 offensive line. This is going to be the biggie. I'm going to go with 8 today because you got to have somebody on that initial. But I expect not one but two linemen to be either claimed, signed, however, a combination of both. Obviously, Ryman, Nelson, Kelly, Smith. Will Fries don't know how that injury is, but I do expect Fries to make it. Blake Freeland, Carter O'Donnell, and Wesley French to round it out. Wesley French kind of gets the benefit of the Danny Pittner, injury. He's out for the season with a broken ankle. Just really unfortunate. He was really having a good training camp at that backup center position. You hate to see that, but this is the position. You start with 8. I think 2 of them go quickly, and I think you go out there and you bring 2 more new bodies in there. You've got to upgrade that position, especially interior offensive line. Now, you need someone who's got a little bit of flex to be able to play, center, guard, in a pinch. And I wouldn't be opposed to having a guy who can be a swing tackle as well when you're young with Blake Freeland out there. But we did go with the 8. Linebacker positions, 6. This one was fairly easy for me. You got Leonard Franklin, speed. Grant Stewart's had himself a really good training camp as that 4th linebacker. Then you got JoJo Doman and Segun Elubi, guys that could obviously help and impact the special teams. And I think when you're coming down those last 4 or 5 guys to make a football team, the ability to play special teams is really going to be the deciding factor, because it is almost a coin flip. Where are they at in their career? Are they young? Are they veterans? How can they help us? What can we see in the future? And how do they help on special teams? And for that reason, I go with those 6. On the defensive line, I went with DeForest Buckner, obviously, Grant, Stewart, Pay, Ebukam, Dio. I think Eric Johnson makes this team, as well as Taekwon Lewis, Tony Adebare, and then I rounded out with Ajim. I think he beats him out. He had a little bit to go for and go on during this cycle. So those are the guys I'm going to roll with there at the D line position. Cornerback, we went with 7. We went Dallas Flowers, Darrell Baker Jr., Juju Brents, Jalen Jones, Darius Rush, Kenny Moore, as well as Tony Brown Jr., just because he's a special teams guy, and you got a little bit of a veteran in there in a pinch. Also a position I would not be surprised whatsoever if they went out and got another body in there, and that could rotate really, really quick. Then at your corners or your safety position, I just went with Blackman, Cross, Rodney Thomas the second, and then Trevor Denbo because of special teams. I think that's going to be your 4. And it's also another position to keep an eye on at the safety position, because I know Chris Ballard really likes to have a vet in there. Kind of considered going with Ronnie Harrison Jr., but it just hadn't been around long enough, and he hadn't really, for me, hasn't popped. So I didn't go with those. And then also your special teams guys. You got your long snapper, Luke Rhodes, Matt Gay got signed that nice contract, and then, Rigoberto Sanchez. Those are my final 53. Guys, you let us know what you think about the 53. Who do you predict? Who's in? Who's out? Where are you at? And as always, guys, thank you so much for joining the No Horsing Around podcast. And until next time.